Hello, everyone, and welcome to iReadit, bringing you your daily dose of the internet for Wednesday, September 27th, 2017. I am Michael Schwan.
And I'm Nathan Wood.
Please remember, everyone, you can help support our show by going to patreon.com/dailyinternet. In addition, we do go live Monday through Thursday, 6 p.m. at Alaska time. One quick note also is that I have been tweaking and messing with a lot of different things in terms of the audio over the last 24 hours. So if something sounds a little weird or off to anybody listening, please let me know, because I am trying to make it better, because it can always be made better, especially because I found out there were some feedback loops and stuff happening that just slightly changed the quality of the audio, so I'm trying to make those better. But I ran out of time before today's show, and I got sleepy last night. So hopefully my tweaks and stuff don't make the show sound like ass. So with all of that, though, Nathan, how are you doing today?
I'm dead fucking tired.
So par for course.
I was gonna say I'm dead tired and I want to go home, but I realized I'm already home.
I want to go. Oh, doesn't that make it worse?
Yes, it does.
Because then you're just sad because you're like, I want to go. Oh, I am home. Home's not a happy place.
Right? It's like, well, I mean, it's not bad. There's a kitty cat here. I just, I'm just really tired and I have to sit in this really uncomfortable fucking chair.
Has it always been an uncomfortable chair, or is something happening?
No, I keep switching chairs to try and find a more comfortable chair, and I don't.
Well, also, just as a heads up to anyone watching this, if you are watching this on YouTube or Facebook, I realize that, well, for one, the episode number and stuff is off right now because I had to reload the presentation because Broadcaster kept crashing yesterday. So if you were looking like, where's the video episode for episode 356? I can't find it on Facebook or YouTube. It's because it doesn't exist. Because XSplit Broadcaster took a massive shit, and it was awful. So, with all that said, though, hopefully it will hold up today. I've tried updating it and all of that good stuff, so hopefully those problems are gone. And if not, well, then you probably won't see this video, because it means that we didn't get one.
It's a very likely option.
I'm not salty, I swear.
Yo, you're marinated.
I'm so salty. Tim just joined the chat room. Tim, tell me if the audio sounds like ass. Because I need to know, because I'm real curious, but there's no way to know.
I think it'd be more impressive that Tim knows, like, the ass language.
Well, I meant compared to previous episodes, damn it.
Right. I mean, I guess we sometimes go...
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
So glad I have the spit guard.
Doesn't even use it.
What are you talking about? It's in the way all the time.
Yeah,
literally all the time.
It sounds fine, like ass.
I walk around with it next to like this, my mouth, the entire time. The entire day. I have it just kind of, cooked onto my collarbone.
Perfect. I mean, is that like a really weird, awkward, more expensive version of the masks?
Okay, so the masks have different uses. The masks also keep things from coming in.
Sure.
This does not.
No. It's purely so that your nasty doesn't get over other people.
Exactly. It's like half of a mask.
Half of a mask. Yes, it's purely for output, not input.
Fuck it, mask off.
Yeah, so please don't. That's there for a reason. It's for audio quality, man.
Right.
Oh, God. So, no, so I got my new computer, right, and I was having this weird-ass problem of that whenever I used anything that used the graphics card, so, like, whenever I played a game, I'd have this sound coming through the speakers, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And initially...
Ass.
Yeah, it was ass. And I was like, man, that's really annoying. And, like, I couldn't hear it coming from the case. It was purely coming from the speakers, and I'm like, what is that? And
well, I mean, it's just not the case.
So... Well, Tony found, he's like, well, it looks like one of the things I'm finding right now is that it's like the more powerful graphics cards, because they have a more power draw, they put out a magnetic field that can interfere with your sound card. Try moving your graphics card. So I did that, and it worked for about 4 hours, and then it came back. And so I did a bunch of research and found out that there's something called a ground loop of, because I have my podcast gear, I have that big mixer board that sits behind my monitors. Because I have that, and because of the weird way that audio and electricity is transferred, because they both had a ground, power was being transferred from one ground up into the other, so when more power was being drawn, it would create that sound. So literally all I had to do to fix it was take a ground lift, or what most people think of as the 3-prong to plug into a 2-prong wall plug. That's actually a ground lift. I have like 8 of them in the house. I took one, plugged it in, plugged my mixer into that, and sound was gone.
That's pretty fucking cool. You fixed the problem.
Yeah, except now I have another problem, and I that's the one I was trying to fix late last night and before the show of that. Because the way that my audio works is my audio is fed out of my computer into my mixer and then back into my computer. Anything that I ask the computer to do in terms of listening to the incoming audio. So 2 things do that, which is my recording software and Skype, because they use the audio that comes from the mixer. When I do that, it creates this weird, like, really high-pitched hum, kind of like when you have 2 microphones too close together and a microphone too close to a speaker and it starts picking itself up to where it goes, that really high-pitched, what sound? It's like a really quiet version of that.
It's my longest, yeah, boy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
10 hours of it.
My research showed that I already ordered the part. It's like an $8 part that I plug into the audio jack as a little in-between my computer and the soundboard. Should fix it, but we'll see.
Is it doing it now?
Yeah, I mean, I can hear it because I have the audio here, and it's real deep into my headphones, but it doesn't mean that everyone else can hear it. Especially because it's super quiet, and it might not even pick up on recordings or feeds because it seems to be just something generated into my speakers from the loop. So you might not even be able to hear it at all, but I don't know.
I mean, here's hoping that you don't.
Well, and like for me, it's pretty darn quiet. So even then, like you probably can't hear it on like the live feed, and you definitely won't be able to hear it on the recording because I'll have done my post production on it and taken out the background noise and stuff, in which it would be considered part of that. I just want it to go away because I'm me.
Yeah, and you're just bothered by it.
Yeah. So anyway, shall we actually talk about some news now instead of a bunch of audio mumble jumbo?
Yeah, sure.
Audio. Hey, Audible, sponsor us.
That'd be cool.
Cancer patient finds lump that was a toy traffic cone inhaled in 1977.
Damn.
Yeah.
This was submitted by Oopsa, so R, not the onion.
Yeah, so...
Also, apparently 10 hours ago.
This gentleman... Oh, really? God damn it, I thought I got rid of all of them. I missed one. Did I miss one? Yep, I missed one. Call me out on it, I dare you.
I do, every time.
So what this is 40 years ago, when this man was 7 years old, he got a set of Playmobil traffic toys. And included in those is a 1 centimeter tall little traffic cone. And at some point, he inhaled that, in which case then it went into his lungs, and apparently it didn't immediately cause a problem because his lungs were, like, they don't know exactly how it didn't, because they're, like, maybe because he was young, his lungs developed around the intruder, essentially. Maybe it got embedded in his lung wall, and the wall just developed around it. Who knows? But he, for his entire life, had this coughing problem, and then in the last year was starting to cough up this kind of like gross yellow mucus stuff, and he had been ill a few times the last year, and he's like, I better go in and go to the doctor. So they did some checks, and they found this lump in his lungs, and they're like, oh, it looks like you might have cancer, and he's like, shit. And they're like, well, we're going to go in there and see what it is. So they went to see what it was, and it was the fucking little tiny-ass traffic cone that he's been carrying in his lungs for 40 years.
Well... I'm glad he got that fixed.
Yeah, and he's like, man, it's been about 4 months since his operation. He's like, man, my cough has gone away. I feel so much better. And it's like, yeah, you had a piece of plastic in your lungs.
I'm surprised it didn't, like, cause more problems for him. The thing's been there for 40 fucking years.
Well, yeah. And he's like, I feel better in terms of breathing than I ever have before. And it's like, I fucking
You don't say.
Yeah, Jesus. And well, it also didn't help that he's been a smoker since he was like 14 or something. So, I mean, it's just compounded.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
I can understand that as a secondhand smoker for like 14 years.
As Nathan's like, hi, Mom.
Hey, my mom doesn't smoke. It's my dad.
Oh, whatever. One of your parents is in the chat room, okay?
Well, that's true.
9.
America denies Puerto Rico request for waiver to bring vital fuel and supplies to island.
This was submitted by 62 Fender Jazz to our news.
So what this is there is something called the Jones Act. And what the Jones Act says is that for American territories in the Caribbean, that they are not allowed to receive any shipments or trade or anything like that from anything that is not a United States marked ship. And so this limits who they can receive stuff from and limits the ships that can come in and out of their port. And the problem, there's two things here, is that one, Puerto Rico needs a lot of help. There are 3.5 million people that have damaged homes, don't have water or electricity, and they need a lot of support. The island is not expected to even begin to recover for at least 6 months to a year because of how substantial the damage is from Hurricane Maria. And so, but the problem is the only supplies they can receive are from United States marked ships. So that means like Mexico can't send them a boat full of stuff because of the Jones Act.
Fucking shitty.
And it is shitty. It sucks a lot for Puerto Rico because they need help. And now they requested a waiver, and they've requested waivers in the past. And waivers have been granted temporarily in cases of disaster. And Puerto Rico requested one after Hurricane Maria, and they have been denied. And the Department of Homeland Security said that they're not granting one because the problem is not the amount of supplies or ships that are available. It is the fact that Puerto Rico's ports are damaged.
Okay.
Now, the thing on this is that the Jones Act went into effect, I believe, in 1920 or somewhere in that very close vicinity. Within a few years from that, the U.S. Virgin Islands, which were also hit by these hurricanes, requested and received a permanent waiver from the Jones Act. So they're able to receive ships and supplies from non-United States marked ships and have been throughout this catastrophe. Puerto Rico has not been able to get a waiver and is being denied a waiver, so they can't get supplies from foreign entities.
But they need one.
Yes.
Why?
I don't know.
Who's got a fucking vendetta against Puerto Rico?
I don't know.
Puerto Rico's fucking awesome.
It is. It really is. I know lots of Puerto Ricans, and they're all awesome.
Exactly. This is fucking crazy.
And what's also confusing is that the Jones Act, there were waivers in place through Texas, Louisiana, Florida for Hurricanes Harvey and Irma, so it would be easier to move fuel to places along the United States East Coast to make up for temporary outages of high-capacity pipelines. All of the oil that goes to Puerto Rico has to be taken there by ship. This is even under normal circumstances. They have to ship it to Puerto Rico. But because of the Jones Act, it can only be on United States ships, which means that most of the supplies that are brought to Puerto Rico cost twice the normal amount.
That's fucking batshit.
Yeah, it really is.
Puerto Rico doesn't need more debt than it already is in.
Well, and the Jones Act can easily be attributed to a large portion of the debt that Puerto Rico has, because they have to pay a substantial increase because of the restricted access they have to supplies normally, much less during a crisis.
All right, so this sounds like a complete load of horse shit. This sounds like the Jones Act sucks balls.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the purpose of the Jones Act is besides control over trade within U.S. territories. But at the same time, the big feel bad is that the U.S. Virgin Islands have had a waiver for the last, 90 years, and Puerto Rico has never been given one ever.
Yeah, and they definitely fucking need it right now. This is so fucking upsetting.
Yeah, it's stupid. Especially when the island needs help. It's not like, oh, we really wish we could pay less for stuff. It's like, no, we fucking need stuff. And there are people willing to give it to you. People are like, we would love to give you aid. Can we bring you a boat full of stuff? And they have to go, sorry, no. You'll have to take it somewhere else that can then be put on a United States ship so that it can be brought to us.
That is the stupidest. You have to do such a giant roundabout.
Mm-hmm.
That's so fucking dumb.
So, yeah. There has been a letter that has been written to the Department of Homeland Security from Senator John McCain himself. He has been a longtime opponent of the James Act, asking why you would deny this waiver. He wants a detail of the cost of shipping goods from Florida to Puerto Rico versus the shipping costs of shipping things from Florida to the Virgin Islands, which has had that permanent exemption, because he wants to showcase and really put on display how much of an unnecessary expense it is.
Good. I want to see that too, because this is fucking stupid.
Well, at this point in
At no point should they have ever been allowed to at no point should they have ever been allowed to deny a waiver to Puerto Rico in this scenario.
Sure. Especially in this scenario. Now, if there's some logic to it outside of this, I'm willing to listen to it. But in this particular instance, I do not understand how in any circumstance you could deny the waiver. Like, 3.5 million American citizens are in need of aid and are unable to get it as quickly or as effectively as they could because of the Jones Act.
Oh my God. It's fucking... There are people going to die because of this. And I fully hope that those Puerto Rican families are allowed to press charges against the fucking U.S. government for allowing their family to die in this scenario.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I know that because of the number of friends that I have, and including very, closely attached to a Puerto Rican, that I will be staying very, very close, paying very, very close attention to this scenario. And
I don't know a single Puerto Rican.
That's not true at all.
I know. I was just talking about how I knew Puerto Ricans.
I was like, I can name 2 that I know right now.
I can name 3 right now.
Oh, I can name. I know I can name 4, but in terms of ones that I know I can name 2, which is.
Oh, I'm sorry, 4. So it'd be Henry.
Oh yeah, Henry. Okay, so yeah.
So Henry, Jennifer. I know Helene, who is a coworker of mine, and I know Janelle, who is a good friend of mine.
5. Lester.
Oh, he is Puerto Rican.
He is.
Oh man, I love Lester. He scared me so fucking bad today. It was great.
Yeah, Lester's the best.
He is.
Tim in the chat room says, I bet you a nickel this won't be on the news. Probably not, and that's depressing, but that's why we'll talk about it. Anyway, we will move on, though.
8.
French president says Europe is too weak, too slow, and too inefficient, and calls for a new era of integration.
This was submitted by Citron Blue to Our World News.
French President Emmanuel Macron pleaded Tuesday for a new era of European integration. He is particularly, in this case, calling on Germany, and what he wants to do is kind of like reform the European Union, in which he wants to take the European Union, make them more of a cohesive force rather than like a collection of people that are willing to talk to one another, including having the European Union have a collective budget from the members of the EU, and also have implement a quick response unit, essentially, if there is any form of military aggression to any member of the European Union.
So he's just trying to tighten things up.
Basically, if you think of how let's make this, bring this home. Think of like the United States and have the federal government be the European Union and the states be the individual countries. Now take that, and so if anything happens to one state, the federal government will immediately respond to that. In the European Union right now, that is not how it works. It is something bad happened in Germany, the European Union, is anyone going to come help or respond or anything like that? And they go, yeah, I guess so, instead of it just being an automatic thing.
Okay. So
he wants to see the European Union, the members of the European Union, be a more cohesive group rather than a bunch of individuals. He doesn't want them to, like, basically turn into the United States, but think of how the United States work in terms of with one another in the federal government. He wants to see something similar to that happen on the European Union scale. I'm not saying he wants to copy it, because I'm certain he doesn't, but the basis idea of that.
I like it, because then we can take that even farther and start integrating more, and eventually we'll have the United Nations of the world, not like what we have now, but more like Star Trek.
Yeah, the United Federation of Planets.
That one.
Yeah, that one.
UFP.
7.
I'm so for that.
Jared Kushner voted as a woman, according to his registration.
This was submitted by man-made ducky to our politics.
Yep. So whether it's just an error on report or if he does in fact identify one, Donald Trump Jr., Mr. Jared Kushner, voted as a woman last year.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and it's mostly being shared in upvoted and stuff because it's funny.
It's like ironic.
Yeah, but the other thing is that in this, people are also bringing criticism to him over it because of how common it is for Jared Kushner to overlook things on forms he fills out. Because he's already been under criticism for other things he forms out, such as when he needed to update a disclosure form to obtain his security clearance for the White House. He had to amend it 3 times so that
he keeps signing it. He doesn't look at it.
He's like, yeah, that looks good.
Yeah, that's not a good way to run a business, let alone working in the government.
Mm-hmm. So either way, that's entertaining, but it's also fairly irrelevant.
Mm-hmm. I find this hilarious, but we have a couple of comments from the thing beforehand.
Sure.
Tim says, the federal government will immediately respond to the hardships of a state?
Okay, so it depends on what you mean by hardship. I mean, if a state is broke, well, the federal government's broke. So that's, a different thing. But if something bad happens or if someone were to attack a state, the country would respond.
It has to be a disaster, really.
And
they don't count crazy drug addiction as a disaster.
I mean, the idea isn't that Germany will send people over to France if like a bad car accident happens that has 50 people piled up on the freeway or something like that. No, but if something bad happens in in France, that Germany will respond. Whereas right now they don't technically have any obligation to.
Mm-hmm. And then Jin says, well, I mean, the scary thing would arise in the fact that if one nation were to fail, if the EU is to be more integrated, it would have a more devastating impact than if they were separate. And then he goes on to say, well, I mean, it could be the government's fault. Like, my name is supposed to be Jin, but the people at immigration thinks that Jin is more correcter.
Well, on your name part, I don't know. That sounds stupid, weird, and backwards. Cause
I find it funny that it's just a subtle, slight difference in pronunciation.
Yeah, your name is your name, right? On the other part, though, the idea would also be that it'd be much more difficult for one nation to fall if they are a collective unit, because they would respond and be there for one another, rather than be like, oh, our neighbor's house is burning down. Can we help? Should we help?
I'll call police.
Should we put it to a vote instead of just being like, shit, my neighbor's house is burning down, I need to go help them?
Yeah, I would definitely go and help my neighbor if their house was burning down.
So
I don't even like them, but that's just because I don't like neighbors.
6.
Reddit could be the next target for federal investigators exploring Russian influence over the 2016 U.S. presidential election.
Damn, this was submitted by Maxwell Hill to Our World News.
Yep. So what it is that they're looking into every aspect of the Russian infiltration into the United States election. And because Reddit is a very popular place that a lot of stuff is shared and talked about, I mean, it's where we get all of our news for our show. The case in this is that they're going to have to go after Reddit now, because it looks as though a large amount of the controversy of some different things, such as like Pizzagate, were propagated from Reddit, from fake accounts that have now been deleted and could have been from Russia.
I feel like not just Reddit, but 4chan and other similar boards like Tumblr play a huge part. The problem with things like 4chan is it's all anonymous.
And it's really about just social media in general. Social media? Is that the right word? For some reason, my brain said that is incorrect.
I want to say that Reddit counts as social media.
Yeah, it definitely does. It totally does count on some level as social media. So does 4chan, so does Tumblr.
I don't know about 4chan. 4chan's not very social.
They are. They're just very aggressive and gross. But it does. They're not that much different from Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. It's just the way that information...
They're like if they took Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and they just they took the bottom of it and they just kind of scraped, and you got that like film, like the bottom of like pans if you hadn't washed it in a while.
That's pretty gross. I hope you're talking about 4chan.
Yeah, no, that is definitely 4chan and arguably lots of parts of Reddit.
Sure. So, I mean, yeah, it's something that, of course, they were going to need to look into. But, I mean, of course, Reddit, where we get our news, is like, oh, my God, they're looking at us. Are you a spy? I'll fucking murder all of you.
It's like the, what is it? It's that episode of Rick and Morty. Fucking, yeah, you're really great to me, Reddit. You're really great. I love you, Reddit. Are you fucking simulation?
Oh, the parasites.
No.
No?
No. That one was when Rick got captured by aliens so that they can try and find the recipe for concentrated dark matter.
Yep, I remember. Okay.
5,
Trump deletes tweets backing Strange after primary loss.
Huh, strange. This was submitted 18 hours ago.
It's a pun.
18 hours ago.
Yeah, that's nice.
By Autismo Jones of USA to Our Politics. Only one, Michael.
It's fucking great, you punful bastard.
Yeah.
All right, anyway, so there have been several special elections going on across the country because either people resign, they die, or, who knows what happens. But there's, consistently there are new elections being popped up regarding members of Congress. And in this case, there was a special election that is happening in Alabama. And it was
everything special in Alabama.
Everything special in Alabama, including the friends that I have there. They're pretty great, though. In this case, though, we're looking at essentially the primary election of deciding who is going to be the person that is voted on against the Democratic opponent. And the two biggest people were Luther Strange and what was his name? Roy Moore. I couldn't remember his first name. And Donald Trump, being himself, had been like, yeah, everyone back Luther Strange, blah, blah, blah. This is my candidate. He's the man. But then he lost, and Donald Trump immediately went and deleted all of the tweets that supported Luther Strange and then sent out a tweet supporting Roy Moore because he doesn't like to be on the losing side.
Have you looked at any of Roy Moore's policies?
Yes.
They are the worst.
They are frightening.
They're so fucking bad.
He compares homosexuality to bestiality. That's a fun one.
Oh my God, it's so gross, the kinds of things he believes in. He feels like homosexuality should be illegal because, yes, it is like bestiality and it's perversion sodomy sweeping the land. He used the term red and yellows to refer to Native American people in addition to Asian people.
Good job, buddy.
In a fucking speech.
Alabama, please don't elect him.
It's too late.
4,
Early childhood educators appear to lack the knowledge, skills, and confidence to effectively teach their young students science.
This was submitted by Mavia to Our Science.
I am not terribly surprised by this, and this
is as a previous educator for early childhood, I can agree. We tried our best to get as much supplies for science as possible.
Well, and this is specifically looking at this particular study anyway, coming out of the Michigan State University, is looking at preschool teachers. And only 38 looking at preschoolers and where they went to, 38% of United States fourth graders were proficient in science in 2015. So, 1 out of 3. And looking at the teachers themselves, 99% of the teachers engage in literacy instruction 3 to 4 times a week. So, teaching kids to read and write. That figure fell to 75% to math and 42% in science.
See, okay. I have a kind of an experience on this, right? I worked as a preschool teacher. And in my classroom, we had worked a lot on reading and writing and things of that nature. And I would like to attribute it to the fact that a lot of the times you're wanting to try and teach children how to read earlier so that they can get that knowledge, so that they can learn other things.
So they can grasp science when they read it out of a book?
Right. I tried to balance as much of reading, science, and math into my teaching as possible, and I was told that I was teaching them too much when it comes to science and that they weren't advanced enough for that. And that was like basic science, like the water that's in the ground will eventually evaporate and turn into rain. And I was teaching them the water cycle, and they thought that that was too advanced for them. But all of the kids understood it. So I feel like it's a lot of trying to explain to people that children will get it because they're fucking sponges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what you do when you're young, is just absorb information from anything and everything. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what your brain is programmed to do, is just, like, and you can even see it in their face, like, as their brain just, like, takes it in. It's like they have this look of, like, wonder on their face whenever new information comes in.
Mm-hmm. And on top of that, and in reference to Jin talking, he said that there was no funding for the STEM program that he had participated in to teach children STEM courses. I will also agree. Though we didn't have money for most things, we spent a lot more on books than science-related things, because with the books, you would theoretically get to keep them for longer compared to some science projects, like, things that are just expendable in science, making volcanoes and other stuff like that.
Sure. Well, and back on the study found that only teachers with a high knowledge and skills for science, not literacy or math, were able to create qualified scientific opportunities for students, such as providing science materials and engaging students in science experiments in the classroom. And I think what it is that really, like, the number of people who want to be teachers is very slim. 2, teachers aren't paid enough, which drastically reduces the number of people that want to be teachers in the first place. And 3, the requirements for being a teacher are actually pretty low. It's literally like, did you finish the school for it? All right, well, go teach some people, I guess.
So in order to be a preschool teacher, you don't even have to go to college for it.
Yeah. Don't you just literally get a certificate?
You can go to college for it. There is a thing called the CDA.
Okay.
And you can take that test after working X amount of hours in a childcare area. And after taking the test, you become CDA certified, and you're able to be a lead, is what they're called, the lead teacher in a classroom. Oftentimes it costs about $400, but it's like a side class that's super, super easy, really. I also feel that a lot of times, as you mentioned, there aren't a lot of people wanting to be teachers. It's understaffed. There's a lot of turnover when it comes to teaching. But I feel like the most important thing is like up here, ratios for children is 1 to 10. I can have 10 students at the age of, I think it's 3 and above, in my room, and it gets even wider when you have older children.
Yeah, and like high school, it's like 40, isn't it, or even more?
When you are teaching 3 to 5-year-olds, if you have 10 of them and you are by yourself, it is the most hectic piece of shit thing, and oftentimes you will never finish what you started.
So basically, what you're saying is, like we've said several times in the past, education in America needs some work.
Education in America blows fucking hugely, and it's so disheartening. Because I really wanted to be a teacher, and I'm not going to.
Yeah. No, I wanted to be a history teacher, too. And it's not an actual avenue in terms of, like, anything, really.
It's really unfortunate.
3.
Democrats successfully flipped 2 seats in state special elections.
This is submitted by Boba Lubolobaku to Our Politics.
Sounds good. So Democrats on Tuesday flipped 2 seats in special state elections in Florida and New Hampshire, and this is just kind of what's been happening lately. There's a lot of people been calling for the blue midterm 2018 of basically and this is very common, is that one party has control, a lot of things don't go well or make a lot of people unhappy, knee-jerk reaction, and the only direction to jerk it over to is to the other party, because we only have a bipartisan bullshit
Just
anyway.
fucking stupid.
And so it's been happening a lot in these recent special elections. I mean, since Trump's election, so since January, Democrats have flipped 8 state house seats.
Damn!
And of the 27 special elections, 8 of those have been flipped, whereas Republicans haven't been able to flip any. They've either been able to hold on to their seats or lose them. They've never been able to turn a blue seat red.
I mean, they turned the presidency red.
Well, yeah, that's true. Well, and also right now, I mean, the majority of Congress and a majority of most of the controlling stake across the country is red. But a lot of people aren't happy with how things are going. It's no different than why a lot of them turned red in the first place. People were unhappy with the status quo of what was being done, so they thought, we'll put someone else in there to see if it changes. And then they went, oh, this isn't better.
Oh, shit, abort, abort.
Can we go back to blue? Maybe?
Oh, wait, we don't believe in abortion. Ah, fuck.
Wow, that was pretty bad.
2,
Mike Pence warns the United States is heading for Canada-style health care if Graham Cassidy bill fails.
Ah, nuts. Damn. This was submitted by another one down to R, not the Onion.
Well, he believes that the Canadian healthcare system is awful.
I mean, okay, sure, you have to wait a long-ass time.
And it depends on what you're waiting for. Like, if you need to go in and, you need to get a penicillin shot because you have strep throat, that doesn't take long. There's walk-in clinics for that. But for elective things, like if you need some form of surgery that isn't life-threatening, yeah, you're probably going to be waiting a little while. But you also don't pay for it, is the other thing. It's like, in America, if you want to get a full reconstructive knee surgery next week, you probably can. In Canada, it's like, yeah, we'll give you a full reconstructive knee surgery because you need it, but you're going to need to walk with a cane for the next 8 months until we can get you in there. But the difference is, in America, you're going to receive at minimum a $40,000 medical bill, and in Canada, you won't.
Canada, you get to walk away.
Mm-hmm.
So it comes down to convenience, really.
Yeah, and that's really where the fluctuation comes in. But, I mean, so for elective procedures in Canada, you are going to be waiting a pretty substantial amount of time. But Canadians have a longer life expectancy by a pretty substantial margin because they are able to get this treatment, even if it does require them waiting for it. They also spend far less on healthcare than Americans do.
Oh, fuck me, it's so bad. We don't want to ever be like Canada.
Yeah. So
see, that's another problem I have is in America, Americans have this thing where they're like, we don't want to be like anybody else because we are the best.
But we're not.
We are not. And it shattered my I realized it and it just shattered me. I was like, wow, America actually does suck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, there needs to be something something needs to be done. Something needs to be addressed because, and there's lots of ways you could solve it. We talked yesterday about how little people are paid, even in professions that deserve to be paid more. And so if everyone was paid more, it might not be as much of a big deal in terms of the cost of healthcare. But when people have a even if you have decent healthcare, people normally, it's like, I have a $500 deductible. I don't have $500. Like, it still screws you. Like,
a lot of people can't go to a fucking hospital even with their fucking their thing,
because it's like, well, we'll pay 80%, you pay 20%. Well, of this $50,000 bill, I don't got 10 grand. Sorry. Like,
it's just not gonna happen. I'm fucking dodging goddamn calls for medical bills for a fucking kidney stone. That's still in there.
Yeah. So I don't know what the solution is. They said, as we talked about yesterday, Graham Cassidy did fail. They're not even going to put it to a vote. They want to try to get some sort of healthcare bill in there before they stop procedures. But
thank God that Graham Cassidy failed, though. That thing's a fucking train wreck that's on fire.
It was pretty terrible. I mean, it would have ended healthcare for millions of Americans, and it would have only saved America $133 million over the next 10 years.
$133 million.
Yeah.
Over 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can go fuck themselves.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. And it really does just feel like they're like, we don't like this there Obamacare. It was put in there by them damn Democrats. We want one of our own. But they can't, like, if you can make a good one, sure, you got my support for it. But all of your options, everything you put forward has been ass.
Complete and total trash that hurts more people than it helps.
Quit it.
1.
Protesters banned at Jeff Sessions' lecture on free speech.
This is submitted by Throwaway Gast on our news, not the Onion.
What?
I don't even.
Yeah.
This is the most ass backwards logic I have seen
So Attorney General Jeff Sessions was supposed to, did go visit Georgetown University Law Center in Washington, D.C. in order to give a lecture specifically on the freedom of speech. And there were a bunch of invites sent out to students there, but then they found out that a large number of these students were going to be doing a protest. So 100 protesters that had already received invites to this event had their invitations revoked because they didn't want them in there as part of a protest. And they say that the invitations were rescinded because they didn't want a hostile environment taking place in the presentation area. But all that does is make this entire thing look terrible, creates a super ironic situation, super hypocritical, and then all it did was make them stand literally, there was massive windows in this presentation room, so they just stood outside the window with friggin' mega horns yelling into the room.
I'm sorry. I enjoy the amount of petty that they were.
Like, no, I do too. It's great. It's delicious. But at the same time, what?
I don't understand. I don't. Why would you want to do a presentation and not have people try and put up counterpoints? It helps you in your presentation. Because if you can debate those counterpoints, then it makes your point look better. Maybe that's the problem. They can't debate those counterpoints.
People don't like debating. People just want to be a foghorn for their side of things. And then just have that be end of it. They don't want anything to come back unless it's people going, yeah!
Fucking dumb.
Yeah.
I feel like open debates, like Rome had, should be more commonplace.
It's a thought, but, well, this is America. So, hey, Nathan.
I'm Mr. Meeseeks! Look at me!
What did you care about in the last 24 hours?
It's actually the thing you picked for me, surprisingly.
Yes! I try. I really do.
That's pretty good. Kit Harington, who plays Mr. Jon Snow, or if you prefer, Aegon Targaryen, which I don't. I prefer Jon Snow. And Rose Leslie, who played Ygritte. Ygritte? I don't know how to pronounce her name. Who was his wildling female counterpart. They have officially decided they've become engaged. They've decided to get married.
And this was submitted by Cass Monkey to our television.
It's so fucking exciting because they were so cute together in the fucking show because, I don't know, I just ship him and Ygritte all the time, and damn fucking Ollie ruined everything. That bastard. Holy shit, though, it was the only time in Game of Thrones history that I had to pause and rewind it 4 times because I was crying laughing.
Yeah.
It's wildlings attacking, this is in like season 4 or something, so if anyone complains about spoilers, they can fuck off. We're in season 8 now. So the wildlings are attacking Castle Black, which is the castle at the wall.
Sure.
And he has to tell Ollie that he just needs to man up and help out, right? Well, Ygritte's a wildling, and she's attacking, and then she's attacking Jon, and Jon like staves her off, and they get to this point where they're about to talk and discuss things and work their way out so that they can be together. And Ollie shoots her in the fucking back with a goddamn arrow, and it pans to Ollie, and Ollie has this smuggler look, and he's just... and he fucking walks on.
Wow.
And I was crying. It was just so fucking perfect.
I accidentally did my thing of the day at like the beginning of the show when I rambled on about audio for like 5 minutes. That's what I cared about, so take that. I'm going to be tweaking and playing with it more, although I don't think I'll be either I'll figure out a solution to it like here, or that part will come in and hopefully that'll be the solution to it. We'll see. Either way, though, let's go ahead and get out of here. I'm very excited to see that XSplit broadcaster survived through the whole damn show instead of crashing twice like it did yesterday. Fuck you. I'm not flipping you guys off that are watching / listening. I'm flipping the fucking program off. Anyway, so glad that held up. Otherwise, though, if you would please consider supporting us, please do so at patreon.com/dailyinternet. If you can afford $1 a month, please consider sending it our way to keep the show going and growing. Otherwise, follow and share us on social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. All of those are at iReaditCast. You can also listen to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play, and leaving us a 5-star review on those locations helps us immensely. If you want to catch the videos, they're always available on Facebook. We do also upload the VODs to YouTube, so you can watch and comment on them there as well. Otherwise, if you want to follow me on social media, I'm at Schwan Michael, and Nathan is at Bimmenstein. And that is it, everybody. That is your 357th dose of the internet. I am Michael Schwan.
And I'm Nathan Wood.
And please remember, everybody,
Don't get eliminated!
have a good day, everyone.